Greetings, Pokey people. Ichigo90 here, and I hate this game. I hate this game so much. I hate it. Let me explain. So, I had this absolutely brilliant idea that I was going to play Gen 5, either black or white, with only baby Pokemon. Why I thought that was a good idea, I don't know. Past Ichigo is an idiot. Anyway, I started off by replacing Tepig with Magby, and then randomizing the wild encounters. Bianca chose Snivy, and that battle lasted longer than I feel like it should have, because, fun fact, Magby's only damaging move at level 5 is Smog, which only hits 70% of the time. That should have been my first clue that I should stop. No sooner did we beat Bianca than Charon challenged us to a battle with his Oshawott. We somehow won that. I have no idea how. I guess Charon is an idiot. Anyway, we name the Magby Calcifer, pick up our Pokédex, and start our journey to collect all 8 Unnovan gym badges. Or so I thought. Very quickly, I ran into Team Plasma giving a very convincing speech that I'm sure many people fully believed. It's totally convincing to everyone listening. Apparently, N doesn't appreciate when people have 2 brain cells to rub together, and so he challenges us to a battle. His Purloin goes down fairly quickly because Magby's actually not bad when it has a stab move that's more accurate than a blind man throwing darts. So after failing over and over to find a baby to add to the team, Bianca comes up and challenges us to a battle. Her Lillipup does a decent amount of damage, but Snivy just can't seem to finish the job. So, moving on, we finally get into Striaton City, but before we're allowed to challenge the gym, we have to find Charon, and he decides it's a great idea to have a battle in the middle of a school full of children. Despite us being 3 levels higher though, he wins easily because of Water Gun. But we grind enough to grow another level and try again, and we end up winning in a rematch. So now we can finally challenge the first gym. We end up facing Cress, which of course we expected. He sends out Lillipup, the very well-known water type. That goes down fairly easily, but now we have to deal with Panpour. We do not deal with Panpour. But we throw ourselves at the gym over and over and over, and eventually we level up to 16, where we learn Feint Attack. Now that we have a physical move, which actually lines up with our stats, we're able to actually damage the stupid water monkey, and we finally get the first gym badge. But no sooner do we leave the gym than we are interrupted by a random cutscene. Apparently, Professor Juniper told some strange woman to give us something, and she decided she can't just give it to us. She has to invite us back to her house first. Then, once we're not just in this random stranger's house, but in her bedroom, she gives us the HM for Cut. Why Could you not just hand us this in front of the gym? And anyway, our next stop is the Dream Yard, where Bianca shows up to contribute absolutely nothing of value as soon as we cut down the tree that's blocking our way. So we enter the place, and who should be there but Team PETA, who decided to beat the living daylights out of a mana in order to get some kind of mist or something, as though the big boy Musharna doesn't just leave the stuff lying around everywhere it goes. No sooner do we beat the Team Idiot grunts than Musharna turns up, and wouldn't you know it, it leaves behind some of the exact mist that the space cadets were looking for when it leaves. But at least now we can finally continue with the game for about 10 minutes. No sooner do we clear out the trainer school and continue on our way down Route 3 than who should show up to grind any semblance of progress we might have been experiencing to a screeching halt than Charon. But thanks mostly to having Feint Attack in our arsenal, we're able to get through his team. Better luck next time, guy. But once again, we're not allowed to make actual progress yet, because as soon as that battle ends, we have to team with Team PETA yet again. This time, apparently, they stole some random girl's Pokemon, and we have to be the ones who get it back. So we run after them and chase them into a cave, and after fighting through an entire horde of Patrat, we get whatever the Pokemon was back. Now, with the side quests finally out of the way, we can get on to Nacrene City and face off against the second gym. Is what I would say if N didn't decide to ambush us with his nonsense talk of the ideals of Pokemon inside Pokeballs. Well, anyway, we beat his team with relative ease, and we can continue into the gym, which apparently is a museum in the front, a library in the back, and the gym itself is in the basement? That's a design choice. So, Lenora specializes in normal types, and her team is entirely composed of physical attackers. So, with Magby's ability to burn Pokemon both with Ember and Flame Body, this should be fairly easy, right? Right? Ha! Wrong! I had to make so many attempts at this gym. The fact that Lenora's lead Pokemon has Intimidate, and Magby is also far more suited to being a physical attacker than a special attacker, didn't help matters at all. I didn't even get past her first Pokemon on the initial attempt. Or the second. Or third. Eventually, though, we do manage to beat Lenora and get the basic badge. So we can move on to the next thing, right? Turns out the next thing is Team Idiot breaking into the museum and stealing the Dragonite skull off the giant skeleton they have there. Somehow. And of course it becomes our responsibility to play fetch, which mostly involves beating up a series of grunts who pose no threat at all. And then after we finish that fetch quest, we find out that, shockingly, the Dragonite skull isn't the skull of the ancient Dragon-type legendary Pokemon that apparently for some reason they thought it was. Yeah, you heard that right. The currently alive Pokemon that Lance, who lives like 3 regions over, has 3 of, isn't the ancient Unnovan Dragon of Legend. Who could have possibly seen that coming? But with that pointless diversion out of the way, we can move on to the next gym now. But of course, things just aren't allowed to be that simple. We get to the gym after some wandering around Castelia City, but this game just hates progress being made. So as soon as we find the gym, we have to go on a side quest, which means we have to run all over the city and track down Team Dweeb's headquarters, which for some reason is located right across the street from the gym. But at least now we can take on Berg. Thankfully, his bug types aren't too challenging for Calcifer to deal with. His lead Venipede goes down in a single hit, and Dwebble doesn't do too much against us. Leavanny, though, despite being 4 times weak to fire, proves to be much bulkier than I expected, but it's ultimately not able to do anything to us and goes down after a few turns, giving us the insect badge. Is there any chance that the road to the next gym will be smooth sailing? Well, before we even get out of the gate, we're challenged to a battle with Bianca. We somehow managed to lose that battle. But in the second go around, we have a much better time of it. So we continue making our way out of Castelia and get stopped by Charon. And his Duat completely destroyed us. So we go off and grind for a bit, and this time we make it past the Duat and the Panseer, and then lose to the Liepard. But we got really close, so let's try this again. On some future attempt, I think, to equip a Chesto Berry onto Calcifer, because Charon is being super cringe and hitting us with Yawn. And with the Chesto waking us up immediately, the Liepard doesn't stand a chance. So now we can go straight to the next gym. Except no sooner do we enter Nimbasa City than Team Buffoon decides they want to get punched in the face again. Following their embarrassment, we go over to the amusement park and ride a Ferris wheel within. For some reason, this scene always confuses me. Anyway, it leads into N challenging us to a battle, which he then proceeds to lose handily. And now, we can finally challenge Gym 4, Elisa. Her volt-switching Emolgas were very annoying, but then her Zebstrika did me in. After leveling up a couple of times, we learned Fire Punch. Having a decent physical fire move allowed us to take out the Emolgas in one hit, and being at full health for Zebstrika allowed us to beat Elisa, and then get the Bolt badge. Hey guys, real quick, if you're enjoying this video, then leave a like on it. And I'm always working on another one. So consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that you don't miss the next one as soon as I post it. And now it's time to fight Charon again, which can I just say there are so many rival fights in this game? In all of Fire Red and Leaf Green, there's 7 rival battles, not counting the champion fight. In all of Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, there's 4, and one of them is fully optional. This Charon fight makes 8 rival battles so far, and we only have 4 badges. Anyway, we Fire Punch and Feint Attack our way through Charon's team without too much of a problem this time. Even with Duat resisting, it for some reason doesn't attack. We're fine, we take those. Anyway, we're on to Driftvale now, where we're immediately confronted with Team Dipstick. Yet again. They just don't stop. So we track them down through the cold storage, where of course we have to have a series of grunt fights. Their weak, low-leveled Pokemon don't stand a chance against Calcifer's Fire Punch. So, with the grunts dealt with and the Plasma Horde captured, we can now go over to the gym and fight Clay. But not before we're treated to a cutscene where the Plasma Bozos we just captured get released, which renders that entire detour to the cold storage completely pointless. We have to fight Clay twice. The first time, we got hit with Bulldoze, which lowered our speed and caused his Excadrill to outspeed us, which cost us the battle. However, the second time, Bulldoze didn't happen, and we're able to deal with the Excadrill without any problems. So we can now add the Quake badge to our collection. How much do you want to bet that we run into Team Dum Dum before we get to the next gym? We'll find out soon enough. But first, I decided it was time to use some totally legitimate and Nintendo-approved means to fill out the rest of the team. It's not that I doubt my ability to complete this game with just Magby. I do a lot of solo runs, but that's not the challenge I set out to complete. Anyway, with our team fully filled out now, it's time to face off with Bianca. She leads off with an intimidating Herdier, which isn't great for our physical attacking lead. That attack drop resulted in Herdier surviving a Fire Punch that it otherwise wouldn't have, but a couple more Fire Punches and Herdier goes down. Bianca sent in Panpour, so we switched over to Angelolith, our Badoo. A couple Mega Drains later, and Bianca sent out Musharna. Gray the Munchlax was able to defeat that Musharna after a few rounds of Metronome. And all that's left is the Servine, which goes down to just a single Fire Punch from Calcifer. Now, just as we predicted earlier, we run into Team Weirdo on our way through Chargestone Cave. And after carving our way through the endless gauntlet of useless grunts, we meet in at the end. His Boldore presents a not great lead against Claire, so we Volt Switch out of there and into a better match. Once Boldore goes down, the rest of In's team has a severe fire weakness, which Calcifer is fully ready to take advantage of. So now we can just go straight to the next gym. Or we would be able to if Skyla was willing to do her job. Instead, we have to climb the Celestial Tower first and meet her up at the top. And once we ring that stupid bell that's up there, she's finally ready to return to the gym and let us have our battle, like she's supposed to do. Claire and Calcifer are able to deal with her lead Swoobat without too much difficulty, but unfortunately her Swanna outspeeds Claire and takes them out. Gray might have been able to take out Swanna if Metronome had called an electric move, but Echoed Voice barely did anything and Aerial Ace crit one-shot Gray. After that, it was all downhill for the team. Second time around, we lead with Calcifer to Fire Punch the Swoobat, allowing Claire to then come in and clean up. After a couple Thunder Punches, we add the Jet Badge to our growing collection. With 6 gym badges now in our case, it's time to head north on our way to the next town. And as you probably predicted by now, we run into Cheren. This time though, he doesn't put up too much of a fight and his team goes down relatively easily. And for once, we have a pretty straightforward path to the next gym leader, Bryson. The trade-off is that this is one of those annoying instances in Pokemon where the gym puzzle is harder than the gym leader. I spent so much time trying to get to Bryson, and once I did, his team of 3 ice types in Gym 7 proved no match for Calcifer. Each one of them falls to a single Fire Punch, each. Easiest 7th gym ever, and the Freeze badge is now in our possession. Of course, no sooner have we left that gym than we're confronted by Cheren and Bianca, where Cheren complains about absolutely nothing. And it's all just a thinly veiled ruse by Game Freak for the Shadow Triad popping up out of nowhere to send us to the Dragon Spiral Tower. Of course, we can't simply climb the tower. We have to fight through a bunch of Team Nitwit grunts that provide no challenge or interest. Why are they in this game? And what's the reward for climbing all the way up the tower and fighting through grunt after grunt after grunt? An annoyingly long cutscene where In acquires Zekrom, and we're told to go to the Relic Castle. So why did we climb up that tower? Well, it's off to the desert, I guess. So we find our way to the Relic Castle, and of course the game can't resist marking the way with cutscenes and grunt battles that add nothing to the game. The least they can do is add some variety to the Pokemon. These grunts just love Watchog, and Watchog isn't even that good of a Pokemon. It's just annoying. And at the bottom, at the end of all the grunts, what do we find? Just Ghetsis telling us that the Lightstone we were looking for isn't even there. That's 2 runarounds back to back. Well, the next stop is back to Nacrene City. Turns out the Lightstone was on display in the museum there the entire time. You'd think something of that importance would be clearly labeled. Well, now that we have a big, heavy rock in our backpack, it's time to head toward the next city. Before we reach it, however, we're challenged to a battle by Bianca. At this point in the game, she's got a Stoutland, and that makes a pretty big difference. Yeah, we lost. So we changed our lead, and while the battle didn't exactly become easy, it enabled us to dismantle her team and ultimately win the battle. So, now, Opelucid, where we're immediately treated to get another Team Halfwit speech. After we roll our eyes so hard we see our brains inside our skulls, we can go take on the gym. And this is really where the challenge stopped being fun, honestly. The gym puzzle felt overly drawn out. The strategy for beating it wasn't all that hard to figure out. The challenge for beating this gym had nothing to do with difficulty. It was the matchups. The challenge was the RNG. Drayden's entire team, and for that team matter, the team of most of the gym trainers was composed of physical attackers. So we just needed to burn them. Between Magby's Flame Body ability and Fire Punch attack, there's a decent chance to burn every turn. And eventually, it does happen. It's very annoying, though. It took so many attempts, but it did eventually happen. Like I said, I knew the strategy almost right away. The only challenge with everyone in this gym was getting the RNG to do what it was always going to have to do at some point. To just burn every single physical attacking dragon type Pokemon, and then they can't win. And sooner or later, we acquire the legend badge exactly in that way. So hopefully now we can just go to the Elite Four and take on the League. But of course it can't be that easy. As we approach Victory Road, Cheren just can't help but block our progress. Now, Unfazant is a tad bit annoying with the tech, but ultimately provides no real challenge. Samurott, however, manages to take out Claire, and then Angelolith, and then everyone else. This thing will clearly be a problem. Eventually, though, after grinding the team to match his level, we are able to get through. And so we're finally able to get on our way to Victory Road at last. Now, the Victory Road itself didn't provide much difficulty at all, and we're quickly on to the Elite Four. And up first for the Elite Four is Chantal, the Ghost Specialist. She proves to be the biggest challenge so far, but eventually we come up with a fun little strategy to get through her. It takes half the team, but eventually we do manage to win the battle and move on to the next Elite Four member. That would be Grimsley, the Dark Specialist. His lead Scrafty proved to be a complete nightmare. This thing has Moxie, and if it manages to get a single kill, it runs away with the battle. The key to winning this is to get through the Scrafty before it gets a Moxie boost. Of course, Grimsley has more than one Pokemon. His Crocodile proves just as much of a problem as the Scrafty. Well, we need to find a way to get through this. And eventually, we managed to two-shot the Scrafty with a sun-boosted Fire Punch. And after hitting Crocodile with Toxic, we're able to break through it. That leaves just the Bisharp and the Liepard, which proved to not be any trouble. So, with only Elite 2 remaining, it's time to wake up Caitlin from her nap. Reuniclus is a monster. First attempt, it sweeps the entire team with, of all things, Focus Blast, which I'm pretty sure it didn't miss a single time. On subsequent attempts, we managed to PP stall the Focus Blast, which makes the Reuniclus much more manageable. And with that beast out of the way, the rest of Caitlyn's team is much less challenging. Until, that is, we get to Sigilyph. However, despite its having the Wonder Skin ability, we eventually manage to land an Attract, and when we accomplish that, we're able to defeat the Sigilyph and Caitlyn. Now, there's only Elite 1 member remaining, and oh boy. Marshall is no pushover. Throw not only lands multiple stone edges, which is illegal, it also sweeps the entire team. So we adjust our lead a bit and teach Borb Attract, which helps a lot. We certainly made more progress than last time, but still somehow end up losing. You know how we finally got through this guy? Revive stalling. We got through most of his team, but his last Mienshao, it just doesn't miss. Not even when it uses high jump kick. He full restored away the Toxic, but then we ended up burning it, and then we just kept reviving the babies until he fainted from the burn. So, now, as with all Pokemon games ever, it's time for the champion fight. Right? Right? Surely, all that's left is the champion. Of course, this game just can't be that simple. We walk into the champion's chamber, just in time to be treated to a cutscene of N claiming the title. And does he challenge us then and there? Does he even attempt to make this process quick and simple? Of course not! We're treated to a whole cinematic scene of architectural disaster. Why is this a thing? How is this a thing? How did Team Plasma pull this off without anyone noticing? Well, all we can do now is go into the castle and track down N. Of course, even that can't be as simple as it could be. We are interrupted multiple times by cutscenes of people telling us to do exactly what we're already trying to do anyway. And when we finally do reach N, do we get to battle him? No, of course not. There's another cutscene of Zekrom busting through the wall, which is followed by another cutscene of Reshiram deciding it's finally time to wake up. Because apparently all of this is necessary and it all has to happen at one time. But after watching the entirety of the MCU play out before us, we can finally battle N. He leads off with Zekrom, of course. We take care of that with Toxic. He does full restore, but then he gets burned and Zekrom goes down. Following that, Gray can clean up a few more members of his team, and Claire can take down the Caracosta to where Angelolith is able to finish it, which leaves Archeops, which we revive cycle between Claire and Calcifer until it gets statused. And then, once it is, we just wait until either it misses a move or is paralyzed. And then Borb is positioned to take it out. So, we've beaten the champion. That means the game is over, right? Ghetsis comes in, none too pleased with N for losing a battle against someone he's never beaten a single time. He carries on, ranting and raving, and reveals one of the twists of all time. And then we get challenged to another battle, which he starts by sending out a toxic stalling Cofagrigus. We take advantage of that to set up with Gray, maximizing our attack. He responds by sending out Hydreigon to Focus Blast. But Gray is so thick that doesn't kill, and Hydreigon goes down. However, Bouffalant lands a head charge and takes out Gray. Bouffalant then avoids a burn from Calcifer and paralysis from Claire, but Borb manages to take it out. Against Seismitoad, we send in Yuko to hit him with Toxic, and then begin the familiar process of revive looping. For Bisharp, we need to get Calcifer in. Bisharp misses a Stone Edge as we revive Claire, giving us a chance to Fire Punch, which somehow falls short of killing. Well, we need to get Calcifer back in. Fortunately, Claire's static paralyzes the Bisharp, and that gives Calcifer a clean chance to Fire Punch and kill the Bisharp. Now all that's left is Eelektross. So we start to revive loop Calcifer and Angelolith. Eventually, this thing is either going to be burned or poisoned, and it ends up being burned. So now, all we need to do is revive loop until the burn damage takes it out. That takes a few turns, and Borb helps out with Protect. Eventually, though, the burn damage finishes the Eelektross and the game. Finally! So, now that I've beaten Pokemon Black with a team of babies, I can finally put this stupid game away and never look at it again. I hated the experience with this game. Flingle, I'm gonna have to do a Team Dreamscape run of Unova eventually, aren't I?